I've been podcasting for about 15 years, back when you had to make your own feed in a text file. But just last year, I launched a new show and we've almost hit 250,000 audio downloads. And the podcast YouTube channel has already crossed 230,000 views. But even after all that, I'd still do things a little differently if I was starting today. So if you're wondering whether or not it's worth starting a podcast in 2025, well, yes it is. I have a whole video on that. You can watch it here. But in this video, I'm going to tell you the 10 things you should consider when you're starting a podcast to make sure you're set up for success, growth, and sustainability. Number 1, choose the right format. If you browse any podcast app, you know there are hundreds, thousands of shows out there, and there's interview shows, solo shows, ones with regular co-hosts, and more. So think about what format is going to work for your topic or niche, and that you can do sustainably week after week, year after year. For the show we launched that's about technology news, I chose doing it with a co-host, and it's the same co-host every week. We stay consistent. Sometimes we can still bring in guests, but we release a new episode every week, video and audio, and me and my co-host go through the news. Having a regular co-host is a great way to develop a rapport, and listeners and audience members start feeling like part of the group. But maybe you want to do an interview show. Well, I will consider how can you make an interview show that's different? Maybe there's a different angle, a different format. And if you're going to think about having special guests on each episode, try to book a few and see how easy or difficult that may be and whether or not you can do that long term. Number 2, choose the right topic or niche. A great way to do that is go to any podcast app. I'm here in Apple Podcasts, and you can see all the different major categories available. Maybe you want to do something in the society and culture category. Well, I would encourage you, go to that category, see what the top shows are, take a look at their format, what are the topics, and what is a topic that you may be interested, passionate, or knowledgeable about that you can cover in a slightly different way than the shows that are already out there. You can also go to apps like Spotify and go to specifically to the podcast category, also see what categories Spotify breaks down here, and then browse what are the top shows that are successful, what are they doing, how are they covering it, and how can you differentiate from what's already out there. And remember, when you choose your topic and niche, think about the Venn diagram between what you're knowledgeable about and have expertise in and what you're passionate about. If there's something right in the middle where you're both passionate, knowledgeable, or learning and researching, that's what you want to aim for. Number 3, if you have the budget or someone that can help you, invest in great artwork. When it comes to the audio version of your show, the artwork is the front page of your podcast. It's the first thing people see and helps them decide whether or not they want to click. Much like a YouTube creator thinks about their thumbnail, your podcast artwork is basically your thumbnail. But if you don't have the budget or availability to make great show art, you can also differentiate in your thumbnails and episode artwork. Here's our show in Apple Podcast, and you'll see every episode actually has unique artwork. I spend time every week making this just myself, and having that differentiator where listeners can actually have a visual experience with custom artwork, and we even do custom chapter artwork, so as someone is listening to our show, they'll actually get a new image every time there's a new chapter. You can differentiate that way as well. Number 4 might be a little controversial, but I would recommend starting with video. I was an audio-only podcaster for a long time, but when we launched the new show last year, we decided to do video and audio right away. And as you can see, our video episodes get about 1,000 views, but like I mentioned, the video side is basically half of our audience, almost 250,000 audio downloads and over 230 video views. Now, there is something to be said that an audio download, those listeners are typically more engaged and listen for longer than video. But having that video component means it's easier to repurpose your content and still keep it visually engaging. We post short-form video clips every day. We don't post a full-length episode, and we can use that across multiple platforms: YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and more. Plus, Spotify, being one of the largest podcast players, really highlights video. So someone who just might be looking for new shows, they'll actually get to see the video version right here in the app, even if they're just browsing for something new to see or listen to. Starting with video can really help reach a new audience and grow your show. Now, it can be intimidating if you've never recorded video before, but let me encourage you, it doesn't have to be difficult. You can use this device right here, your phone as your camera, and then use Riverside to record with remote guests or your co-hosts, and you can get high quality video and audio with the setup and the gear you already have. Plus, Riverside makes it easy to edit that video with AI tools like removing silence and filler words. Edit your content like you're editing a text document. Just select words and phrases, click delete, and you've edited it. Then you can export a video and audio version right from Riverside, so you can upload it to YouTube and Spotify for creators, and that audio version to your podcast host. Plus, Riverside has an amazing Magic Clips feature, which will create those vertical videos from your long-form content in seconds. It'll automatically find engaging moments, and every video you see on our podcast YouTube channel was a Magic Clip. All of these came from Riverside Magic Clips, and it makes it easy to generate lots of short-form content quickly. If you want to learn more about Riverside and see my entire video podcast production flow, which I'm a solo creator, I do it all myself, check this video out right up here, and you can try Riverside in that link down in the description. Number 5, don't hesitate to reach out for sponsors right away. If you have a relationship with brands or sponsors that you can reach out to, give them a deal for launching a new show and signing up for a month of ads. We were actually able to launch Primary Technology with a sponsor, even though we didn't have any data to offer them up front. But having that sponsor early on then also opens the door to future sponsors, and they see that your show is a viable option. And remember, number of downloads is not everything. If you have a small audience, but that's hyper engaged and always takes action when you talk about a sponsor, that's a selling point that you can share with potential advertisers. Number 6, if I was launching a show today, I would start building that email list or community right away. Podcast is a great way to have access to an audience, but it's hard to actually gather information about who is actually listening and watching. So if you have a private community or email list, now you can have even more direct access to that audience. We actually started a community on Circle, and we have hundreds of people as part of that community, and now we get to engage with our listeners and viewers in real time. And actually, a lot of the people in our community say they prefer watching the podcast on YouTube. So in case you're still considering video, we found a lot of our audience really prefer it. Number 7, if you're posting your podcast on YouTube and Spotify for creators, think like a YouTuber when you package your episodes. Think about that thumbnail and title every time. A lot of times, especially for older podcasts, they try to use titles that might be inside jokes or funny, but don't really make sense to someone who's not a listener. Well, think about the person who's never heard of your show before and are seeing this episode for the first time. Write your titles and make your thumbnails to attract that new audience member. Drive curiosity, share a question, something that makes them want to click on that video when they see it on their YouTube homepage or in the Spotify app. And Spotify for Creators even now lets you upload a custom thumbnail per episode if you're adding video. I actually did an entire video explaining these features and how you can share those vertical videos directly to Spotify as well. Check out this video where I explain that entire process. Number 8, have a launch plan. How many episodes will you have recorded and ready to publish when you actually do your actual launch? We launched Primary Technology with 2 episodes live right away, and then we plan to record every week and publish every week. So whatever that release cadence can be for you that you can keep consistent, stick to that. But also, how are you going to share that show on social media? Are you going to create social media accounts specifically for the show or advertise it using your personal social accounts? If you have an audience on any platform, whether that's LinkedIn, Threads, or X, make sure you share new episodes to those platforms. And think about the discovery mechanisms. Where are people going to find your show organically? If you're on YouTube and Spotify for Creators, those are organic discovery platforms. Are you going to share vertical videos to TikTok and Instagram Reels? And how will you point them back to the main show? Now, we didn't do any paid advertisement at first for our show, but if you're going to, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, but I would also encourage you to think outside the box. There's actually a new app for iPhone called Tapestry, and it's a way to plug in multiple social networks, and you can buy ads that show up here at the top, and users of the app can add your show to their app Tapestry with one click. Ads are cheaper here than you'll find on other major platforms as well. And you can also buy advertisements in podcast apps like Overcast. Again, these are going to be cheaper than other methods, but you can reach a more engaged audience, and advertising in a podcast app where people are already listening to podcasts is a great way to quickly convert from that ad. Number 9, have 3 episodes in the can before launch. I talked about recording several before your full launch, but I would say have 3 ready to go, and you can start by publishing 1 or 2, but try to always have 1 in the can if your show format allows. This way, if there's ever a week where you're going to miss or your co-host or guest can't make it, you can still keep that consistent publishing schedule. And number 10, the biggest hack of all, is recording and editing with Riverside. Like I said, I record every episode in Riverside, video and audio. If I had this tool back when I started 15 years ago, it would have made a world of difference. So not only can you generate those magic clips and create vertical videos in just seconds, in one click you can generate show notes that provides a summary, takeaways, key points, and even chapter markers for your podcast, and you can put that in your YouTube video description or podcast host to have chapters automatically generated for your episode. Plus, you can record with Riverside with our iPhone app, Android, or iPad app, so you can make a podcast anywhere you go. If you'd like to learn more about Riverside, maybe using the iPhone app to record, check out this video here. If you have any questions about launching your podcast or about Riverside in general, leave comments below this video. I'll answer you personally. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button before you go. And Riverside also lets you live stream, which we've actually been experimenting with our podcast, doing live streamed episodes. So if you want to learn more about all the live streaming tools Riverside has to offer, check out this video right up here. Thanks for watching. We can't wait to see the podcast you create.